Well, we really did dodge a bullet here. If you'll look behind me, you can see my truck and camper parked over by the house. We just came back from a holiday visit with some family. They had a full house, so we ended up sleeping in the camper. And when we got back, it was stormy, cold, and raining, and dark, and I was tired, so we went ahead and unloaded the truck and camper. I was just about to put it away, but I decided I would just leave it there for the night, and the next morning I go ahead and park it where I normally do, because that's not where I normally park. So just behind me here is where I normally park, and had I moved the truck and camper back to its normal spot like I was planning, this fir tree here would have totally taken it out. Looks like it would have landed just about in the middle of the truck and camper combo and probably would have done significant damage to both of them. This tree apparently fell just later that night, and we got really lucky because it's only about 2 yards or a couple of meters for you international folks away from my shop. My wife's car was parked right here where the camera is. It didn't get any damage, but a little branch did land on it, so that's how close it was to hitting the car. So we got super lucky. This tree, it missed the shop, it missed the truck and camper, and it missed my wife's car. So like I said, we dodged a bullet, but this will be a good chance to bring out the MS362 and cut this guy up. So here's the other end of the tree, and as you can see, it just got uprooted. I'm surprised there was no damage done to these little firewood racks here, but that's what it looks like from the other side, and I'm not too surprised. The neighboring property here, that's 40 acres. It used to be completely forested, and they clear cut their whole property, and that sent a lot of wind over towards us. And now these trees, which never grew deep roots, they're falling over. I've had a bunch of them fall over in this general area. So some months back, I published a video series comparing the top 60cc professional chainsaws, and I decided that the Stihl MS362 was the best chainsaw for me. Now, there are a bunch of reasons for that, but one primary reason was the fact that I already had parts which would work on this chainsaw. For example, it only takes me a few seconds to remove this single E-clip here on the sprocket, and that allows me to switch out the original 3/8 sprocket and put on this 325 sprocket. And that allows me then to use bars and chains, which I already had from my Stihl MS261 and MS271. Now, today I'm going to be using this old beat-up laminated Oregon bar. It's pretty old and cheap, and I'm going to be using this Oregon chain. This is a control cut L74 that I bought from my MS271 years back, and today I'm going to be working over gravel. So this is pretty cheap hardware. If I happen to hit some gravel and do some damage, I'm not going to be too upset. Now, I bought this chainsaw primarily for slabbing work, but before I run it that hard, I wanted to give it a chance to break in just a bit, and also to make sure that the M-tronic electronically controlled carburetor has had a chance to tune itself in properly. Now, this chainsaw has been in storage for months, and before I put it in storage, I drained the fluids and I ran out all the gas. So it'll probably take me a few pulls to get this guy started on this wet, cold Oregon day, but let's see how it goes. Well, it's getting too dark to film out here, but the chain stall is still running great. I can't say the same for the chain. I think I hit some gravel, which is probably not too surprising. I thought that might happen because I was going to be cutting over this gravel driveway here, which is why I was using the cheap bar and chain. But got a bit of progress. I still have about 20 feet or so left of this tree, but the chain's so dull, I'm going to go ahead and stop here, sharpen it up, and I'll continue off tomorrow, try to finish this guy up. So being a 60cc chainsaw, this guy is a little bigger than what I would normally use for smaller wood and for delimbing jobs. But with that said, it's really not a heavy chainsaw. The power head weighs only 12.3 pounds, which puts it in the range of a lot of 55 and 50cc chainsaws. Heck, I even had an old Craftsman 46cc chainsaw, which weighed more than this saw does, and put out maybe just a little more than half the horsepower. So as you could probably see, this chainsaw is really cutting fast, as long as you don't run the chain into the ground, and that's even with this low kickback Oregon chain. So I'm really impressed by the cutting speed. It was getting up to top RPM very quickly, and it wasn't bogging down in the wood. Now with the M-tronic carburetor, there is no half choke mode. It's either in choke or in run mode. And what I was noticing yesterday, the saw wanted to run in choke for quite a while before transitioning to run, otherwise it would stall out. Now I didn't have that problem today, even though the weather was basically identical. I started it in choke, transitioned to run after a few seconds, and the saw just ran fine that way. So I think the carburetor has had a chance to tune itself in properly, and it's running really great. In fact, once it warmed up, I was able to start the saw on the first pull every time, and it's running really smoothly. Also, I appreciate a decompression valve, but I started the saw several times without it, and it was much easier than I expected. Now there's this little spring in the pull handle here, and that helps to dampen the pull stroke a bit, and that may make it feel easier to start. Now I've heard of some complaints with regards to the oiler on this model being insufficient, so something that I was looking out for, and I checked the bar several times for heat, and it was not getting too hot, with the exception of when I doled out the chain. Now I've not adjusted the oiler from the factory settings, but I am using a fairly thin oil, and that probably helps. The only downside of using that thinner oil is the fact that it doesn't stick to the chain as well as the thicker oil does. And I was noticing a lot of steam coming off the bar while I was running it at high speed, as that warm oil flings off the chain, hits the cold wet air, and creates vapor. But that's just water vapor, it's not smoke, so there's no problem there, or at least I haven't seen a problem yet. But once I start slabbing, that's going to be a really great test of the oiler, so stay tuned for that. Of course, I can't speak to long-term reliability just yet, but this is the fourth Stihl chainsaw which I've owned, and the other three saws have been very reliable. So if you're curious to see how this saw performs over the long run, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications, and I'll let you know if I have any failures with this saw in the future. But thus far, I'm pretty impressed with this saw, and I can't wait to start slabbing with it. I plan to do that real soon. So anyway, that's about all I have for today's video, and we'll see you next time.